Hello and welcome to Truro and Penwith College Business. My name is Paul Keene and I'm a leadership and management tutor here at Truro and Penwith College. And as part of Cornwall Business Fair, I'd like to share with you some thoughts today around some simple reframing techniques that can really help us to manage in this complicated world that we're navigating our way through at the moment. Some years ago, an abbreviation escaped from the American military into popular circles and academic culture. That expression, or that abbreviation, was VUCA, and in particular, a VUCA world. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And it found traction because in those four headings, it very much described the world that we inhabit, particularly at the time with the rate of pace of technological innovation. The volatility is the speed and the rate of change. The uncertainty is the difficulty of predicting what will happen next. The complexity is how there are many interrelated variables in most situations. And the ambiguity is a lack of clarity. We're never quite sure what we're dealing with. And over the last few months of the pandemic, we certainly have been experiencing a very VUCA world. Each element can be a real challenge for us. And naturally and emotionally, we tend to gravitate to the exact opposite of VUCA. We prefer stability. We prefer certainty. We prefer things that are simple. And we prefer things that are clear. And the more we move away from that, the more emotionally stressed we can become. And as we become emotionally stressed, one thing happens, and that is we can resort to binary thinking. Binary thinking can be really useful. It's really useful in life and death situations. Is the hot plate on or off? That's useful to know. Do I fight or flee? Another useful bit of binary thinking. Do I sink or swim? However, in the VUCA world, sometimes a more nuanced thinking process can be more valuable to us, rather than being hoodwinked into this on-off, yes-no type thinking. Reframing is a concept that's based on the idea that we can't adjust the wind, but we can adjust our sails. The frame which we view the world shapes our thinking, our emotions, and our actions. And sometimes, simply by adjusting that frame, it gives us a much different perspective and allows our thinking, our feelings, and our actions to follow a different, perhaps more useful path. A classic example of a verbal reframe is replacing the word should with could. Very simple to do, yet surprisingly effective. Should suggests a choice between a right way and a wrong way, not to mention a hint of guilt for possibly choosing the wrong path. Whereas could opens up a world of possibilities. It acknowledges that in many situations there are multiple different ways that we can navigate them. They might all be right, they might all be wrong, but it's not a simple binary choice. Could also increases our personal accountability for actually making a decision, rather than following some predetermined should that we think we ought to follow. A second kind of useful verbal reframe is replacing or with and. For example, should we follow an academic or a practical career path? Why does it have to be or? Could we follow an academic and a practical career path? Ors tend to create a separation illusion, whereas ands allow us to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously. And by doing so, we might just get to a different place in our thought process. Another example would be the illusionary separation between our physical or mental health. How about physical and mental health? Or if we're discussing business or pleasure, let's try business and pleasure. Where's the rule that says business cannot be pleasure? It's a really simple trick or technique, but incredibly powerful. And it's surprising how many occasions we find an or where an and would do us much better. A second and similar example is replacing our buts with ands. For example, if a colleague approaches in these times and asks for some support in working remotely, and we were to reply, I'd like to support you in working remotely, but I need to ensure that there's proper coverage in the office, that but creates an implied decline of the request. Whereas if we replace it with an and, well, I'd like to support you with remote working, and I need to ensure proper coverage in the office, that opens up a conversation for a mutually agreeable solution. Similarly, if we're talking to somebody who's thinking of starting their own business, and they'd like to start their own business, but they need a steady income. How about if they'd like to start their own business and they need a steady income? Where might that get them instead? So very simple reframing techniques, very quick to do, can be used verbally, can be used when writing the words down, replacing shoulds with coulds, ors with ands, and buts with ands. I'd encourage you to experiment with this technique. It can be applied both at work and at home, and I'd love to hear what you discover by employing this very simple practice. So please feel free to get in touch via our email address and visit our website for further details of the range of leadership and management courses that we offer. And finally, my colleague Sam Gunn is running a free online workshop this Friday exploring some further leadership and challenges, and we'd love you to join her. Thank you for your time and have a fantastic day.